Minor disclaimer about this set of videos. This was recorded on the PTR, and it's entirely possible that mechanics look or even behave differently when it's released on live servers. In addition, for these last two videos, I was unable to get any footage of the later phases. I will still talk about the mechanics in later phases, but it won't be accompanied by footage. I will also not be talking about the myth mechanics of these fights, as by the time most people reach them, there will be better resources available. One-Armed Bandit is the casino theme boss of the raid. This is mainly a spread cleave fight with a heavy execute phase towards the end. The main mechanic of this fight is spin to win. One-Armed Bandit will summon 3 real assistants in set locations. Real assistants will spam cast an uninterruptible cast called Electric Blast towards their primary threat target that does damage and causes them to arc lightning to all players for 6 seconds. They will also cast Overload and Withering Flames. Overload is an interruptible cast that will deal huge raid damage and knock everyone back if it is not interrupted. Withering Flames will place a dispellable magic debuff on a random player that deals big damage and reduces their maximum health every time it deals damage. You'll want to coordinate dispels and have players affected by this move out of the group, as when they are dispelled, they will shoot out a bunch of fire tornadoes that need to be dodged in a circle around them. Most importantly, you will notice a symbol above each real assistant's head. When you kill an assistant, they will drop a corresponding token that you pick up by walking over it. You will also gain an extra action button, which will require you to walk close to the boss and use it in order to deposit it. If you don't do this before the 30-second buff on the boss expires, he will permanently enrage. Furthermore, you'll need to deposit 2 tokens to prevent the enrage, which drop from the first 2 adds you kill from each set. Once you deposit your tokens successfully, the fun part begins. Depending on the symbols you chose, there are 4, Shock, Flame, Bomb, and Coin. One-Armed Bandit will cast an ability. The most important of these to keep in mind is Shock, as it will always create a coil when combined with any other token. Coils are important because they last until the boss reaches phase 2 and will activate every time you deposit 2 tokens in the future. Tanks can also right-click these to remove shocking fields, but more on that later. For now, I'm going to list off all of the possible combinations that you can get when depositing tokens. Shock and Flame will create a superheated coil that shoots out flame tornadoes you need to dodge. Shock and Bomb will create a dynamite-laden coil that will create adds that fixate on random players that you will need to AoE down. Flame and Bomb will spawn adds that fixate that when killed will explode within 15 yards for big damage. Flame and Coin will deal heavy raid damage over time and apply a dot. Coin and Shock will create a premium currency coil that will pull players towards it when activated. And finally, Coin and Bomb will create CC immune adds that will fixate random players. This one is particularly hard to deal with as the adds have more HP as well, and there's no easy way to control them as you usually would. I also forgot to mention that these are not in a set order, and the tokens you have available to you to choose from is completely RNG, so each pull will be different. Regardless of the combinations you decide to kill, it's important to keep in mind that you cannot repeat a combination, as that will trigger the enrage mechanic as well. I'm sure there'll be a weak aura telling you what combinations you need to do, but just keep it in mind. While the main mechanic here is a doozy, there are several other mechanics you'll need to keep an eye out for. Hayline will shoot out a massive casino chip towards the direction of a player, indicated by a dark blue line. If you are hit by this chip, you take massive physical damage and are stunned for 8 seconds. However, if you are near the path instead, you will gain the High Roller buff and gain 10% damage and healing as well as 30% movement speed for 15 seconds. The casino chip will roll until it reaches one of the walls of the arena and then will fall over, dealing damage to anyone within 15 yards. Once this is resolved, players can stand next to the chip and use their extra action button to roll it in a direction. This is important because any active chips grant the boss a 5% damage buff. The boss will cast Foul Exhaust. This applies a massive healing absorb that deals shadow damage and slows those affected. One thing I noticed during testing is that the boss has a cast sequence that you can break by depositing tokens during casts. For example, if you waited too long to deposit the token, the boss could cast Foul Exhaust followed by the Coin and Flame raid damage, which would cause big stress for your healers. However, you could deposit the token in the middle of the short initial cast time for Foul Exhaust, and he would skip casting it completely. This is a min-max thing that won't be required by any means, and possibly could be even removed by the time the raid releases, but it was something I thought that was interesting. The tank mechanic for this fight is the Big Hit. This is a simple tank swap mechanic that does huge fizz damage, and applies a debuff that increases damage taken by the Big Hit by 350% for 30 seconds. But more importantly, when this cast finishes, the boss will create a shocking field wherever the tank was when they got hit. Shocking fields increase player damage taken by 75% and deal damage if you stand in them. If a tank activates a coil created by any of the shock tokens plus another token, it will deal huge damage to them, but the coil will absorb the nearest shocking fields. As the fight goes on, you may need the off tank to click these to save you some space. This mainly becomes an issue if there are casino chips from paylines stuck in shocking fields. When the boss reaches 30% HP, he will enter phase 2. Now this is where I don't have any footage of this happening, but I'll explain the mechanics. The boss will no longer spawn any adds and will despawn any existing coils left over. He will cast Rig the Game, which means he can control the colors of the abilities he will cast. He will start with all shocks, which is called Linked Machines. This will spawn a coil that is linked to the boss with a beam. In addition, whenever a coil spawns or activates, it will knock all players back. Then he will cast All Flames, which is called Hot Heat. This will mark several players that after a delay will shoot out a beam of flame where they are located. Those players will want to do their best to move out of the group to aim their beam away. Then he will cast All Coins, which is called Scattered Payout. This does huge raid damage constantly until the boss is killed. Finally, if you survive the Scattered Payout channel, he will cast All Bombs, which is called Explosive Jackpot, and kill everyone in the room instantly. During this phase, he will continue to cast Foul Exhaust and the Big Hit. And that sums up the fight on Heroic. The TLDR of this fight is as follows. Kill Real Assistance so you can deposit tokens in time. Interrupt Real Assistance Overload. Move out for Dispel if you are affected by Withering Flames. Kill any bomb adds that spawn from depositing. Watch out for payline ships and try to dodge them. And in P2, move away from the group if targeted by Hot Heat. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.